All right, welcome along to the RTÉ Soccer Podcast. I'm Diallo alongside James O'Toole this week, and we've also got Ollie Cahill and Graham Gartland as we look back at the weekend's results in the Women's National League, SSE or Tristee League, Premier Division, and also First Division as well. But before we get into all that, I think there's smaller matters which is happening over across the water with the Premier League title race. So we might just ease ourselves in with that. Ollie, obviously, look, the situation at the weekend changed things for the first time in a number of weeks, with Liverpool falling 3 points behind Manchester City now after dropping points against Tottenham. They're playing tonight against Aston Villa. Steven Gerrard, possibly a party pooper here, but even regardless of that result, do you see Manchester City dropping enough points in the 3 games remaining to give Liverpool a chance to come back into this?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I can't see them dropping. I think obviously the weekend games were huge, and psychologically for Man City, after the Champions League game, to go in on the back of that, I think people think, oh, that's going to be a big one for them to try and lift themselves. But they did, and I suppose the boost they get from seeing the Liverpool result as well. But yeah, look, they're 2 unbelievable teams, and it was hard to see any of them dropping points along the way. But look, Liverpool had that little slip, so yeah, I can't see City not winning it from here.
Yeah, but they have bigger fish to fry, obviously, with the Champions League and then the FA Cup final also coming up. At the other end, actually, it was kind of interesting, Graham, with Everton getting themselves out of the relegation zone now. They obviously still have a game in hand, which is going to be against already relegated Watford. And Leeds, who have a terrible goal difference, have slipped in now. If you were to pick from the 3 that are most likely to end up in that third relegation spot between Everton, Burnley and Leeds, which way are you going?
I thought Burnley had sort of pulled themselves out a little bit, but when you see their remaining games, they've Spurs away, they've Aston Villa away, and they finished with Newcastle at home. Leeds, probably toughest one is Chelsea, but they're at home in that one. So Burnley have 2 away games, Leeds have 2 home games, and I think that 2 home games might pull them out. Everton have 3 home games, with the last game being away to Arsenal, so they're hoping that they're mathematically safe before going down to London to play that one. So I could see Burnley being in trouble purely for the fact that they've 2 away games against Spurs and Aston Villa, which I think could be tough. So yeah. I can see Burnley maybe getting dragged in. But like you said, Leeds have conceded too many goals. Like, they've conceded 74 goals this season, I think, is it? And it's just, if you're trying to sort of stay up or do anything in this league, you can't be giving away that many goals and expect to do well in the league.
Yeah, we've been talking about title races, obviously, in the Premier League, and there is one in the Women's National League, and there's been a decisive result there on Saturday. So looking at the results over the weekend, Wexford have hauled themselves up into joint second with Peamount after a 2-0 win against DLR Waves. Cork City lost 4-1 at home to Athlone. Treaty United lost 4-0 at home to Bohemians. And then in the big one, Shelbourne beat Peamount 1-0. So that's champion Shelbourne taking a decisive step in the title race. And then Sligo Rovers lost 2-1 at home to Galway. Now we're just going to listen to Jess Stapleton, who scored the winner half an hour in for Shelbourne against Peamount, 4th goal of the season. And she was also talking about the Save Tolka Park campaign, which we'll talk a little bit about later on.
Jessie, what a game. What are your thoughts?
Oh, it's brilliant. Peamount and Shelbourne is always a big match, and especially with the week Shelbourne had with the whole save Tolka Park, and we saved it, so it's we're home for a good time now, and the men's won on Friday, so it's just a great week for Shelbourne all around.
Yeah, and you scored the only goal of the game.
Yeah,
through that.
The ball fell for me perfect, and I have to give credit to Jess Garrigan. There was a brilliant run, and if she didn't do that, it wouldn't have fell to me, so fair play to her. It all goes to her.
Yeah, and it's always a tough game, you guys in Peamount.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts kind of coming into the game?
We knew that if we won, we'd go 5 points ahead, is it? So obviously that's in the back of our head, and then don't know about the rest of the girls, but for me, back in my head is the 5-0 that they beat us up there, so we wanted to get a bit of revenge, as you say. But it was a great win, and credit to Peamount as well. They're a brilliant team.
All right, so that is Jess Stapleton of Shelbourne, scorer the winner against Peamount, speaking to LOI TV after Saturday's 1-0 win. James, in terms of what this does to the title battle at the top of the Women's National League, I mean, at the start of the season, we were thinking maybe it might be a 3-horse race with Wexford there, and that it was really a flip of a coin between Shelbourne and Peamount, given what we saw at the end of last season. But Shelbourne, they were quite dominant in this game against Peamount, and they've taken a real decisive step, at least in this early juncture in the title race.
Yeah, they have. But this is a bit like last season as well. They went ahead last season. They had a fair few points ahead, and it got slowly but surely got grabbed back, like what we've seen basically in the start of the men's Premier Division as well, where a team's ahead by 6, 7, 8 points, and now it's back to 1. Like, there's no doubt this is a massive result. Like, in fairness to Peamount, they went at it from the very start. Karen Duggan had a great chance. Erin McLaughlin also had a great chance as well. But, you know, it's one of those games where these two have a real rivalry now, and it's great to see it at the top of the league. Like, as you just mentioned there, the 5-0 victory over in Peamount was massive for Peamount, but then this comes back, get them home in Tolka. Lovely day for a game of football. Great result for them. It does show that it probably will be those two. If we did think there would be 1, 2, maybe 3 with Wexford and maybe DLR Waves pushing a bit, I think that's out the window now. I think these two are going to go on now for the rest of the season and kind of just tip for tat at each other, and then hope that Wexford or DLR or Athlone or someone like that takes a point off here or there. But a great result for Shelbourne, shows their intention for the rest of the league. Will we get the same finish as we got last year? Probably not, because that doesn't really happen year in, year out. But no, it's great for women's football. It's great to see it on the Watch LOI, that we're able to watch all the games as well again. And TG Carr, I'm sure, will come in during the season as well and do a couple of live games on telly as well. So it's all looking positive for them.
And it probably just shows, James, the importance of that first game of the season where Peamount had won 6-0. You know, they made a brilliant start to the season against Sligo Rovers. Obviously, with the mitigating circumstances, Sligo were new to the league, but then obviously that getting turned around and being awarded to Sligo because of an ineligible player.
Yeah, and it's stuff like that where the players on the pitch, and I don't know about the two lads have been on pitches where probably, like, you don't care who you're playing with or who you're playing against, and that's all an admin thing. So it's difficult for the players when they get a result, and then it's a silly admin thing that goes wrong. But again, this is shown the levels we're now at with women's soccer. That yes, they're a professional league, and yes, we have to take it professionally, and we need to look at it the exact same way. And it's just unfortunate that an administration problem happens with that. But yeah, it keeps the league going, and it's sad actually to see Paul Farrell stepping down from Cork City Women as well during the week. Obviously, he's saying that it's all work related, and it's just so much time that needs to go into the club that he can't do it anymore, because he's a really good coach, really good man. But yeah, it's on the up for women's soccer, and next Saturday week we've got the Women's Champions League final as well. So as far as women's soccer, not only in Ireland is concerned, but across Europe, it's all on and up, and we've seen record attendances all over the place. And as soon as that starts happening here in Ireland, people will grab it, especially within the league.
Yeah, we'll touch on Wexford too, because as we said at the start of the season, it was possibly going to be a 3-horse race. Now they beat DLR Waves 2-0 with Ciara Rossiter scoring from a long-range free kick and then setting up the other goals. We might just listen to her first, because she was speaking to Siobhan Madigan after a match-winning performance.
Did you think, I'll go for a goal straight away when that free kick was awarded? You were 30 odd yards out.
Yeah, I think Kylie wanted to put it into the corner, but I was like, no, I'll just shoot. I was just dying for a goal, to be honest, after all the sitters I missed there. But I said, may as well just take the chance and see. And luckily enough for myself, I went in.
It's a vital win. It moves you level on points now with Peamount, and you play them here in a fortnight as well.
Yeah, exactly. I suppose it's still very early on in the league, but you don't want to be dropping points too early either and falling too far behind. So it's good for us that we're kind of staying up there. But again, like Peamount, it's going to be a tough game, 2 weeks' time. But we look forward to Cork next weekend first. We're just focusing on each game as it comes. We don't really look ahead too far. Okay,
so that is Ciara Rossiter of Wexford Youths after a match-winning performance. As Siobhan Madigan said to her there, you know, they've hauled themselves level with Peamount. Do you, like, and I know you said it's probably going to be between Shelbourne and Peamount when everything comes to an end towards the end of the season, but do you give Wexford a small chance of maybe putting themselves into the mix in the long term?
There's a small chance of them. Like, they're both on 19 points at the minute. As Siobhan mentioned there, they play each other, not this week, I think it's next week they play each other. But the only thing Wexford have on their side, and it kind of is on their side, kind of isn't on their side. If you look at their squad is a very secure squad. It's been there for years. Like, you look at Ciara is there, you look at Nicholas Sinnott still there. Like, do you know what I mean? Players like this are the core of that Wexford team and have been there for years, have won cup finals with them, have played in Europe with them. So there's a good core of players there. It'll be a bit, to tell you the truth, it'll be like what happened at the weekend with Shelbourne beating Peamount. And people saying, well, that's it done. Shelbourne have gone. And I think Peamount get a result down there, and they have had results down there, and they've had good kick-ins down there as well. I think that'll be it. It'll be interesting, to tell you the truth. But again, yeah, I don't know where Wexford's head's at. Are they a cup team? Are they a league team? Do they want to push on the league, or would they rather look at the FAI Cup? I'm not too sure. But yeah, listen, that game comes down to it. Cork, after being beaten, I think they were beaten by Athlone at the weekend. As I said, managerless Cork going down to Wexford for a game, that could be a win to Wexford, and then it sets it up. It depends. But we're 9 games into the season. It's a long season. We'll see where we go from here.
Yeah, much like the men's Premier Division, where obviously we're calling it a title race, it's still quite early on, and there has been a decisive step. So as we see from the results over the weekend now, Derry City, Shamrock Rovers, Sligo Rovers and St. Pat's at 2 games over the weekend. But starting with the Friday results, Derry City drawn 1-1 home with Bohemians, Will Patching's penalty earning them the point there after Cherry had given Bowes the lead. And then St. Pat's got back on track with a 4-0 win at Drogheda United. Dara Burns with the early goal, which got Pat's motoring. And then Shelbourne beat Sligo Rovers 2-1. A very important home win for Shelbourne after, well, actually they hadn't won one at home this year. So that's a huge one for them. UCD with a valuable point at home to Dundalk, 2-2 draw there. And then Shamrock Rovers beating Finn Harps 3-1 with Danny Mandroiu getting a brace. And then last night, Shamrock Rovers beating Sligo Rovers 3-1. And then Derry City and St. Pat's drawing 0-0. Before we get to the teams involved last night, I think we do need to talk about the Save Tolka Park campaign and the developments that happened last week. So Graham, in regards to the positive news at Shelbourne, I mean, Dublin City Council recommending that the abandoning of plans to rezone the ground for residential use. And as Jess Stapleton said there in the earlier clip after the win over Peamount, it's a huge week for the club.
Oh yeah, it's massive. You see where other teams, you don't want to lose your home, and that's where they played the majority of their games since their inception, I think. So it's so important. Like you said, there's enough places to rezone to make houses without them taking someone else's, like you said, their home and where you want to play. It's so important for the club now that they're back in the Premier Division that they have somewhere to call their own. And on the same week that they get their first home win, it probably gives them a little boost as well for everybody. So, it's fantastic news for the club, fantastic news for the league. Ollie would have played a lot more at Tolka than I would have down the years, but it was always a good place to go. It was always a good atmosphere, even as an away team going down there. But there's some great evenings. I was actually at the European game when Davy Rogers scored that goal, as he tells everybody with the magic boot. Ollie would tell you about that. But that's some great European evenings there that you would have went to watch even as a young up and coming player. I would have went to watch them games there. So it's fantastic. I do feel that the ground needs developing. I do feel it needs if they're going to save it and then make sure that it's done up properly, and they could get the council involved with the upkeep of it as well if they can. So yeah, they saved it and it's great news, but make sure that they redevelop it and turn it into a proper functional stadium.
Yeah, Ollie, in regards to Graham's point there about the opportunity now to do something with the ground beyond just the actual saving of it for the future and actually building on what's there and renovating or whatever needs to be done, there's a real opportunity there for ground that obviously you know very well.
Yeah, absolutely. As Graham was saying there, yeah, many a great evening in Tolka Park and lots of happy memories there. But yeah, it needs a bit of work. It needs a bit of TLC. I suppose, look, they haven't done anything to it because they thought they were going to lose it for over the last number of years. But I say now is the opportunity. Thankfully, it's been saved. And I think it was mentioned about Tolka, Dalymount and Richmond that putting a few resources and money into that and bringing them up to a standard that they should be at and a standard that the club deserves. I mean, as you say, there's a huge effort gone into this campaign. But now, what are the next steps? Where are they going with it? Are they going to improve it? And look, I'm sure they will. And it is a great place to play, and it's some great atmospheres there. And I remember even losing the Santa Cup final to Linfield there, but Linfield brought about 2,500 fans down and created a brilliant atmosphere. And it was just a great day. And again, as Graham said, some of those European nights were special there, and thankfully it is saved. But yeah, let's kick on now and improve it and give the club a ground that they deserve.
Yeah, and they I don't know, it was just one of those coincidences that both the women's team and the men's team also got victories at home on the same week that was happening. As we've already discussed, the women's team getting a massive win for the men's team. Damien Duff's side that 2-1 win that they got there on Friday night. I mean, it was massively crucial for them. Obviously, hadn't won one at home, but now, you know, with the context of trying to keep as far away from that relegation playoff spot, Ollie, like it was just massive and much needed.
Yeah, it was a huge win, and I think it's just Staple mentioned. I saw Joey O'Brien's post-match interview as well, and he mentioned the Save Tolka campaign, and it was a motivation point for them all week. And they wanted to give the fans something back, you know, after the campaign, and they went out and did. Fairness, a couple of really, really good goals. Jack Moylan, they've missed when he's been out injured. They've missed him. And Sean Boyd, a couple of cracking goals, and it's a massive win, first home win in the season, and they could have got a few more. In fairness, Ed McGinty made some great saves. Anytime I've seen Ed McGinty, he's impressed me. Top keeper. I think he's got a big future ahead of him. But Shels will be delighted, absolutely delighted with that win at home, and I think they've Drogheda at home next as well, so they'll be looking to build on that first home win and grab another one and push on up the table. And Damien is building things slowly there and obviously implementing his way and what they want to do, and they'll get there. But I say that was a huge step forward for them.
Yeah, and James, just on that overall situation in terms of on, and I guess you can call it off the pitch, even though it's still within the, I suppose, the ground itself is kind of you can kind of call it on the pitch as well. I mean, it's a massively important for Shelbourne.
It's massively important for Shelbourne. Now, I'm going to be a bit controversial here, right?
Okay, go on.
Right. The pitch hasn't had anything done. The ground hasn't had anything done to it since they built a stand that is already derelict and not allowed to have people move into it. It's on a floodplain. Every time the Tolka bursts, the right-hand corner of the pitch floods. So there's a lot of work that needs to go into that as well. And I don't know whether the money is there to redevelop Tolka to the level it needs to go to. As they mentioned, St. Pat's to the level it goes to, and Dalymount to the level it needs to go to. And I'm not 100%, I know people will absolutely go after me for this, but I'm not 100% sure we should be spending money on 3 stadiums when we could get one really, really good stadium that suits everybody and puts 2 teams into it and gets it to the level it needs to be in for this league to progress. Because I have a sneaky suspicion that the money will be split and neither stadium will come up to the level where we need them to be, even for European games. I don't think the finances is there to split across 3 stadiums. And unfortunately, history or not, if we want to push the league on, we need proper stadia. And if it's only going to be a third of a stadium here, a third of a stadium there, a third of a stadium there, then it suits nobody.
Graham, Graham, what's your view on James's point there?
I think the Shelbourne one, I think the people who are investing in Shelbourne probably have an idea that they're going to invest in the stadium as well as the playing staff. So if they go in with the council and show their plan to say this is where the council can help invest and we can help invest as a club. The Dalymount one is different in that I'm not sure they have money behind them that the way Shelbourne do to invest with the council. I'm not sure how much they could use in that sense. Regarding Pats, where do Pats go then if you're saying one stadium, James, you know? Like, I know they redeveloped the Brandywell and they got to do pitch and redevelop the stand. But my question to you then would be, how would you feel if they said, well, we're just going to let it go and move, like, and you have to move in with Finn Harps and develop a stadium between them two? Like, because people have a great affinity to that club and where it's based. And if you uproot that, they lose that sense of identity a little bit, you know. Now, I know you point to other stadiums around. Italy has always been where they shared and from the get-go was shared. But over here, that's a difficult one to do, like, you know.
It's difficult, but at this moment of time, the council own both Tolka and Dalymount Park. So the Tolka, like, the money was going in from the council. There was a load of funds being put together for the money. We're talking 20 odd million to redevelop Dalymount Park. Maybe that's probably a small amount to develop Dalymount Park. And I can't see anybody, no matter how much money is behind them, developing Tolka out of their own pocket to that level. And yeah, the Brandywell was redeveloped, right? Institute are now there, not due to the Brandywell being redeveloped, but due to what happened to the Riverside Stadium during flooding. They're there. So we have 2 teams in there. If they move the Brandywell tomorrow out just outside the city into a brand new stadium, I'd be more than happy. No question.
Would you be happy to share it with Finn Harps?
Yes, no problem. Right, well. I think we have to look at not our own interests, but the league and creating a business here of football. And if we've got half a stadium built here, half a stadium built there, half a stadium built there, that doesn't help anybody. Whereas we could have one good north side facility and Shels and Bowls share it. And I don't see a problem with that. I think we need to if we want to push the game on, we want to make it a business. Yes, history counts. Yes, you have your fans who say history counts, etc., etc., etc. But if you look at a demographic of fans who are going to matches today, Shelbourne fans, for instance, the vast majority of them haven't seen Shelbourne win a Premier Division. So where's the history there? Like, do you know what I mean? All we've done is go to a derelict football ground every second week to watch a game of football. Whereas I'm sure they'd rather go to a lovely, nice stadium and watch it. And I think
if you put a time frame on it, James, I think if you turn around and say, right, you have 10 years to redevelop them, and if you don't, then we're gonna. But again, it might be wasted.
But then you're 10 years behind.
Yeah.
Then you're not 10 years behind. You're then 15 years behind because it's going to take you 5 years to build a decent stadium.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I know people.
I'll let Ollie weigh in on it. Ollie has more affinity to talk than I do. So.
Look, I suppose it happened in Drogheda as well when we were there in the plans for stadiums. Yeah. And it's just all fell by the wayside, and it was nearly the cart before the horse kind of thing. You know, that put money into the playing squad and they got success then, but it was on the back of trying to build a stadium, and that fell through. Yeah, it's a difficult one. I understand what James is saying. Like, if it's for the betterment of the league and you want to push things on, I understand that. But I think let's give them a chance. I'm saying history would suggest maybe it won't, but like, give them a chance. Let's see if we can. I know there was huge outpouring of emotion from Shels fans because, back to Graham's point, they feel like they were losing their identity as such. They're going to Dalymount. It's the heartland of Bowes, Philsborough, Cabra, and all. But look, as I say, let's give them a chance. They're just after saving it, so like, hopefully they can push it on and do the right thing.
Isn't it? Like, if you were building a brand new ground for the both of them to share, I could understand that. I could understand them building a ground for the two of them. That they're not redeveloping Dalymount, they're not redeveloping Tolka, they're getting a new stadium. One stand is Shels, one stand is Bowes in terms of their entrances. You could do all that. That's what happens in other clubs. But the fact that you're moving one team to another ground, another people's stadium, that's the bit that sticks. You know, like, it'd be like, that's the bit that fans can't get their head around, because, like you said, they're losing their identity. I understand what you're saying. Build one good stadium between the two of them, but it probably needs to be in a neutral venue where they can both then, they're both losing something to get something, gain something at the top end of it for the betterment of the league, James.
Yeah, listen.
That's an ideal situation, by the way.
But Shamrock Rovers never lost their identity when they're travelling from ground to ground.
They did, James.
It made it stronger within the fans. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it made the hardcore group stronger.
It made it stronger. And they're the guys who stood by Rovers and got them through the bad times. Do you know what I mean?
That's true, but it did. They lost so much, though, James. They lost, if you ever listen to ex-Rovers players and ex-Rovers fans talking about them times, like the nomad years, it was heartbreaking. Some of the stuff.
It was heartbreaking.
But you'd never wish that on any. You'd never wish that on any club.
But you fear that's what might happen if they only half develop grounds. Like.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a debate that's going to rumble on for sure. So at least it's been sparked here. So we'll probably follow it on. But elsewhere, anyway, we were praising Dundalk on last week's podcast. I don't think you were on it, actually, Graham. But there was, I think it was Johnny McDonald. Actually, he was saying that he was tipping them for third place, and then what happens, that kind of curse of praising a team, and then the very next game they tend to not show up, and they drew 2-2 at UCD. So there's two sides here. UCD, obviously great result for them, but doesn't really change their situation. And then for Dundalk, very much an opportunity lost, Graham.
Yeah, the sending off just before half time seems to have killed them. Boyle got sent off right on I think it was in stoppage time in the first half, and then UCD are obviously back in it. Whelan is obviously dangerous. Kerrigan as well, isn't it? Is very good off the right hand side. But I don't know. So I saw Dundalk a couple of times, and they can be actually quite stuffy at times, where they try and stop teams playing a lot, and that's the bit when they have to go and win a game. I'm not sure they have enough maybe pace in that team to hurt teams. I know Kelly and Bradley play at times, and they can be dangerous off both sides. But the game I seen them play, he played Kelly up through the middle against Shamrock Rovers, and he didn't put on Bradley till the last 20 minutes. So they scored 2 goals in this one, and you're thinking from that point of view, 2-0 up to UCD, they should see it out. The sending off kills them, but they're getting a lot of draws, which is hurting them, I think. And I can't see them breaking into the top 2, but it's between probably them and Pats to be in 3rd and 4th for me. I think Pats might be after. I was worried for Pats when Derry done them, and Derry done them comprehensively with the 4-0. And I was talking to someone at the game. He said Derry just blitzed them, but they've reset by the looks of it. They've picked up 2 really good results. Then like going up to Drogheda and winning 4-0 is a great result, and then getting a draw last night. So, but Dundalk, I think he's just bedding them in and making them hard to beat, and then hopefully then he can grow it from there. That's what it looks like from our point of view.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, last night's games, but also Shamrock Rovers were in action on Friday night, which is where Tony O'Donoghue was speaking to Stephen Bradley about the decision to turn down Lincoln. So we'll just listen to that portion of the interview where he discussed the decision to stay at Shamrock Rovers, and then we'll discuss that and the results off the back of it.
Obviously, Lincoln are a very, very good club with really good people behind it, and they have big plans, and like I said, they're a good club. But when it came down to it, like I said, I feel that I love this club, and we have unfinished business, and it feels right to stay.
It must have been a tempting offer nonetheless, because you've made no secret of the fact that you would like to, I suppose, test yourself at other levels in other countries.
Yeah, I've made no secret about that, and that remains to be the case. I will have to challenge myself at some point again at a different level, a different stage, different country. I think that's only natural. But like I said, right now,
okay, so that's Stephen Bradley.
We've got really strong little players.
Friday, just before
we've built up to this point, and we're not finished in what we're doing.
And beat Sligo Rovers on Monday. So what was a week of instability with the uncertainty around Stephen Bradley's position, then ended up being a pretty positive one as they go top of the table now, 1 point clear of Derry City, with Derry dropping points. We'll talk about Derry very shortly. But Ollie, in terms of that positivity, at least in the short term, there is that sense of stability, and they kind of know where they're going forwards for the rest of the season at least.
Yeah. Look, I suppose it got a lot of airtime over the last week or so, and there have been question marks maybe about what the players will think. But I think Ronan Finn and some of the players were responsible for trying to persuade Stephen Bradley to stay, and I think it's great that he has stayed. And look, they've had 2 really good results since then, and it's not going to affect them. Like I can see why Stephen would want to stay. Like the facilities, the training facility they have there, like he's been there a few years now, and it feels like he's building. They've built a lot, but there's more to go. They have plans, to develop Roadstone even more, more league titles, challenge in Europe. Like it's a big attraction to be staying there, and I think it's great that he has. And I say the fans, everyone there delighted, as well as the players, and say the 2 results that they've had since Friday and last night has showed where the players' heads are anyway. That's for sure. And they're going to keep going and keep driving on. And say it's going to be a big month and a big couple of months as well with Europe coming, and I'm sure that was part of why Stephen chose to stay as well. I'd say maybe he feels unfinished business with Europe, and they really want to progress and make strides there and make inroads, which I think they are capable of.
And Graham, in the longer term, obviously he's staying for now, but as he said to Tony, like most people, everyone has ambitions regardless of what line of work they're in. So in terms of maybe going not necessarily to Lincoln, but over to England at some point, that's still in the long term. So Shamrock Rovers, structures are good at the club, but in terms of succession planning, is that something maybe that this week just reminds the club, they just need to kind of look forward to what may be next whenever Stephen Bradley makes the decision in future to move elsewhere?
I think he probably got a fright in 2012 when Michael left. and Stephen came in, and there wasn't a lot actually underneath the club once Michael left, and Stephen probably took the job and was, I think we were training at the AOL. We didn't have, like, there was no base for us to go. We were on the north side. We had no gym facilities on base, and then you see all the structures there. But and that's why. But Stephen was part of them structures and putting them in. You know, when the academy first started, I think it was 2014. Stephen came in with Shane and then myself, and we helped build her up. And Roadstone was one of the big projects, and Stephen was part of that and driving that. So I think he feels a bit of ownership towards it as well, and that's one of the reasons he felt that he needed to stay. He has got ambitions, and you never know what comes up for him. And football's funny like that, you know, where other teams start looking and then you see he refuses it and thinks, right, well, he obviously has his own ambitions of maybe going a bit higher than that. But he met with Lincoln. He said they were really good to him. But he did say to me, he says, like, there was a lot to do, and I've done a lot of the stuff here, and I want to see it out. I want to see it to fruition. I want to, you know, drive the club on and put these things in place. And then the structure behind it is great. Like, if you walked up to Roadstone and you see what's coming as well, like what Ollie said, it's fantastic. A new gym, new indoor hall, training pitches is brilliant. The stadium facility along is fantastic. So it's a massive attraction for anyone coming in. But that's where I feel Stephen has a sense of ownership about it, and he wants to see it out. And I don't think it was the time for him to hand it over to somebody else. And it's great, and the boost it gave the club and all the players as well, because they obviously didn't want to see him go. So it's fantastic, and it just shows you, like James was talking about, the betterment of the league. It just shows you, like, you have a manager, if you not taking the first offer that comes to him, to say, you know what, no, I'm happy at Shamrock Rovers and this is where I want to be. And it's only good for the league that a manager like Stephen is staying around as well.
Yeah, I think if you're saying succession plans and all that, as you're saying, like, to have Graham there, Aidan Price, you know, Shane Robinson, Stephen Gray, people who know the league inside out, who are, you know, coaching with the underage setup, and, you know what's what in the football world.
Tony Cousins is there.
Tony Cousins as well. Yeah, there's lots of
Pat
good
Flynn.
people underneath there. Pat Flynn. You have Glenn Crone and Steve McPhail. Like, you know, as you say, if you're looking for a succession plan and people there to, you know, step into the breach if Stephen does leave or in the future, you know, it's in safe hands at the moment, anyway.
Yeah, it's people that have the best interest of the club at heart, Ollie. That's the biggest thing. It's like they're not doing it for any other reason. Like, that they're doing it for the club. You know, you're not coaching a 14s or 15s or 16s to, you know, you're doing it because you have the club's best interest at heart and the academy's interest at heart. You know,
lots of lads have their kids playing in teams and stuff there as well, so they really, you know,
like, get you in, Alza. Get you in to teach the wingers a bit of crossing. You're struggling with a few crosses.
Yeah, back post, pal.
Okay, so we'll park that job offer there for a second. We'll move over to obviously, look, there's a great squad of Shamrock Rovers too, as we saw over those couple of games, with Danny Mandroiu getting a brace on the Friday, and then Graham Burke scoring a hat-trick, having come on as a sub. So, like, if you're going to use the term impact sub, you're using capital letters for that in regards to Graham Burke. But more so in terms of Danny Mandroiu, because this time last year he was just about to get his first call up for the Ireland senior squad, and he didn't feature against Andorra or Hungary. But where is he at in terms of his international placing, and where maybe Stephen Kenny might see him? Obviously, he's not part of the picture right now, and probably just slightly outside of it. But Ollie, like, where do you kind of see his international ambitions at this point? Because he's still relatively young, and he is in good form. Yeah,
he's young, good form, and I think Ireland, we need players like that. They're the types of players we need in the international setup. The thing that struck me about Danny, just seeing him this year, is the relationship he has with Jack Byrne. Like, it's something like that goal against Dundalk, that ball from Jack. But if Danny doesn't make the run, like, the ball isn't on. And the ball the other night on Friday night from Jack, like, Danny's making that run from how many yards away, but knows when Jack is on it, if I make a run here, he can find me. And he seems to have just gone to the next level, really. We all know he had ability and talent, but, you know, like, whatever, since he's gone to Rovers, seems to have taken it on. But yeah, I think in the international team, we need players like that. We need your Danny Mandroius, we need your Jack Burns, that can have that little bit of an X factor that can open up those teams. And I know, look, obviously Stephen Kenny would be well aware of him and has watched him regularly. So it'd be interesting to see how it pans out. But if he keeps on going on the current trajectory, there's no reason why he can't be getting in around squads. And not saying he's going to be starting or playing, but making some kind of impact.
Yeah, and Graham, I think it was a couple of weeks ago we were talking about, or maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago now, we were talking about Jack Burns' credentials in terms of maybe getting back into the squad. And I think you said he definitely does fit into those plans in terms of the last few minutes of a game where he can pick a pass. In regards to some of the other players, either at Shamrock Rovers or around the league, obviously they're kind of middle of the season now, so match sharpness is something maybe Stephen Kenny might look at in terms of the June games. Is there anybody, Danny Mandroiu or otherwise, that you think maybe has a chance of sneaking in?
I know Dara Burns has played with the 21s, and he looks like he's continued that form. He's been excellent. I was surprised McGinty wasn't called in when they needed a keeper the last time. I'd agree with Ollie on that one. I actually thought Sligo missed them a little bit last night. I think the first goal, maybe, I think Brush is just probably a little bit too eager to come out and close down the space. And if Burke is on his right foot, if you stay in your goal and trust your defender, he's probably going to shoot in the front area. But Brush rushes him, and it makes Graham Burke's finish a little bit easier. So they'd be the two I'd be looking at. Danny's ability, when I seen Danny play as a kid, and then I seen him even when he came back, he likes to come towards the ball and play and get involved in the play. And I think where this season and a little bit last season, he's actually willing to run in behind a lot more. And his pace is ridiculous. I didn't realise he was as quick as that until I probably seen him open up in one of the games where he just went through it. I think it was the Pats game last year where he nicked the ball off Desmond and took it from the halfway line and held Desmond off and scored. And I said it to Stephen afterwards, I didn't think he was as quick as that. And he says, yeah, he can motor, Graham. And I think now when you see the likes of Jack dropping in and his head comes up, he knows I'm going to hit the grass and Danny will get there. So, but I do think Burns has been really good for Pats as well. So I'll be interested to see. I've only really seen Derry once. I'll be interested to see them on Friday live and see what because I do like the centre backs. Toll, I thought he'd done really well last year. So he'd be somebody that you could look at as well. But obviously Ireland are really strong in the centre half position at the moment, so it'd be tough for him to break in. But
just on Rovers, I think you have to give a mention to Gaffney.
Yeah, he was brilliant last night.
I think Mandroiu and Jack Byrne are grabbing the headlines, but like you're a centre half, I doubt you'd fancy coming up against him. He works hard, he's in your face, he'll run behind, he holds it up. He's got a bit of quality as well, in fairness.
He was unbelievable last night, Ollie, when he came on. He changed the game, because they actually took 2 strikers off and put Gaffney on as the lone striker and dropped Burke back in. And that's what hurt Sligo, because they were man marking Jack Byrne and it freed up Burke then to just wander. But Gaffney occupied the 2 centre backs unbelievably well. He's pace for the second goal. I remember he'd done it to me in Tallaght Stadium. The ball got knocked into the corner, and I thought of a good 4 or 5 yards here. I'm not right, and then he just came, and I was like, oh my god! And I just said, I think it's time to call it.
No last pauses. He chases everyone. The bit of quality as well, I think, was the Harps. Was it the first goal where it's knocked into him, and he's played that ball in behind the full back.
Unbelievable, yeah.
Like, he's got quality as well, and I think very underrated. I know he got in PFA Ireland Team of the Season last year, and it just shows what other players in the league think of him, because I'm sure a lot of people are going, oh, how did he get in that team? But players playing against him, I'm sure the Rovers lads would massively appreciate what he does, but I think he's been superb.
Really good at when they an outlet as well, when they knock it, when they do press high and there's a clip into him from the goal from Alan Manis. He's really good at just securing and holding it up. But be interesting to see how he does against the 30 centre backs, because I do like them too. I think they've been really good this season as well. But James will go on about them now in a sec.
Yeah, I certainly will, because you've just given me the perfect segue, as you almost do every week.
All right, Rash, you could probably mute your one. We'll take it from here.
Yeah, no bother. Shamrock Rovers, Derry City, live on RTÉ2 and the RTÉ Player this Friday. So that's a huge game coming up. But we'll touch on Derry City now, because they're very much involved in this title race, despite dropping the points over these 2 games against Bows and Pats. But we listened to Rory Higgins first, who's speaking to Eric White last night.
Performance levels was outstanding. compare their performance on Friday night, it was night and day. Brilliant, more like us. Just, I'm lost for words. I don't know how we haven't won the game.
What can you say to the players in there after a game like that when you've dominated from start to finish and been so comfortable for most of the match?
Just be more ruthless at the top end and take responsibility, because our play right up to that bit was really, really good, and we passed the ball at speed and we passed it forward at speed, and our movement off the ball was brilliant, and I'm baffled at how we haven't come away with 3 points.
Okay, so that is Derry City manager Rory Higgins speaking after the 0-0 draw against St. Pat's last night. So that is a draw against Bowes, a draw against Pats, and this was a Pats team they'd beaten 4-0 very, very recently. James, they dominated 60% possession, or 61% possession. I mean, you can't really read too much into possession stats sometimes because it doesn't really give you a full reflection of the game. But what sort of went wrong for them this time that maybe it had worked out in the previous game against Pats?
I would suggest that Pats and Tim Clancy went up and didn't just park one bus but parked a number of buses. I'm shocked that it was only 61% because in the second half I think Pats only had the ball for maybe 2 minutes. And that was it. They were really, really poor. In fairness, they did the job. As I said, they got a hammering down in Richmond only a week beforehand. So they had to change that up. So as Graham's mentioned, Dara Burns came on with 15 minutes to go. So that tells you what they thought about the game. This is a case of we're going up here not getting beaten, not a case of we're going up here and we're going to get a win out of this game. And that's the way it happened. As Rory's mentioning there, yeah, the play up to the box was absolutely wonderful. But then just overplaying the ball. Instead of taking shots, they were overplaying it as if they wanted to get it into the 6-yard box and tap it in from there. There was several chances during the second half in particular where a shot was on. And the first person that had to take a shot from outside the box, I think, Brandon Campbell in the first half where he's kind of off balance. Then the second half is Patrick McElhenney hits the post. So it was one of those games, but as Rory mentioned, it was better than Friday. On Friday, Derry City were incredibly lucky not to lose because, and Graham, I don't know if you've seen this, but if you were a defender and a referee gave a penalty against you for the penalty that Derry got, you'd be sent off for what you'd say to the referee because it was absolutely shocking. From viewing it, it was a shocking penalty and Derry got away with one there. But last night, they controlled the game and it's just that fraction that they didn't have. I don't know whether, as he said, I don't know whether there was a willingness to take a shot on or there was a fear to take a shot on or something. But it was a perfect game last night to do that, especially ahead of Rovers on Friday night.
Would you be worried about the home form, James? Because that seems to be where the best away record in the division, but the home form is hurting them at the moment.
Yeah, there's a bit of home form there. Like in fairness, it's mostly clean sheets. There's only one loss, and that unfortunately came to Shelbourne. But I don't know what it is. It's just it seems a fear of taking on the shot when the shot arrives. Like if you look at Shamrock Rovers or you look at, we'll take Shamrock Rovers for instance, like you got Burke who'll hit it from 25 yards. You got Mandroiu who'll hit it from 25 yards. So if a gap opens up, they'll take a shot at it. And nobody will go, oh, why did you do that? They'll go, well, fair play. Like, do you know what I mean? It opened up and off you go.
That makes, when you have people willing to take shots from distance at times, it makes the defenders have to come out and commit to the shot, and then it might leave a gap.
And then it leaves a gap in behind for a little slide ball in behind. For instance, with who took a shot last night? I think it was Patrick McElhenney took a shot last night. Goalkeeper saves it. And when he parries it, no joke, it comes 6 or 7 yards away from his hands. And no Derry player is there putting pressure on. He just walks out to the ball and picks it up. And it's in the middle of the box, like, do you know what I mean? So it seems to be, I don't know if it's a fear of overcommitting or what have you, but last night was a game where even if they had have overcommit, like, the only chance that Pats had was a Chris Forrester shot towards the end of the game.
I do think it shows how far Derry have come. That the team that finished second last season goes to Derry and gives them the ultimate respect to saying, listen, we're here to just get a draw and get out of here. Like considering Pats finished second and are FAI Cup holders, the fact that they go up there and like you said, park the bus against Derry, it shows you how far you have come as a club and a team.
It's massive, and I was actually only thinking about this last night because people are saying, "Oh, but Derry have they've spent big, they've done this, they've done that." But if you go through the team, like Mar came in this season, none of the back four did. No. The back four were all there. Midfield, Patrick McElhenney came in middle of last season. Thompson was there. Patchen was with us on loan initially because Dundalk, for some bizarre reason, didn't want him. And Dummingham comes in there, and then up front McGonigal. So there's not
Brandon Kavanagh, Brandon Ray as well.
Yeah, but again, not big money signings or anything like that.
No.
All guys who are at the end of their contracts. So it's not as if they've spent big to do that. What they've done is they've just recruited really, really well. But the issue then happens. It's not like Shamrock Rovers. There isn't a Graham Burke. There isn't a Rory Gaffney to come off the bench. Do you know what I mean? It's all young kids who are on the bench at the minute. And I think that's where they'll fall down towards the end of the season, especially with Europe coming up, is that the actual squad depth might not be big enough for Derry.
Yeah, and in terms of the short term then finally, Ollie, obviously dropping points means they slip it's barely a slip, like just 1 point behind Shamrock Rovers anyway, but how that colours the game now in comparison to, say, if they had found a winner. Obviously Rovers would probably have had to chase the game a little bit more, but the situation changes a little bit, does it?
Yeah, I suppose it does. I suppose the lift Derry would have got from that late winner against Rovers in the Brandywell earlier in the season, and the momentum you can gain from that. Again, it could have happened last night, but still they're only a point behind. And when you look at it, like lost Kieran Hark and Michael Duffy, McElhenney came on and went off again last night. James, I'm not sure what the update from him is. He looked sharp last night when he was on, saying had a shot. So, like they're three massive players. If you're going to Tala without them, that's a big hole in any squad. But look, I'm sure they'll take the positive. Well, try to take the positives out of last night to say how well they played up to a certain point. And I'm sure they'll be working on that final third, that last little ball, and working on that. But again, look, at this stage of the season, they're a point behind Rovers. It looks like a 2-horse race, to be honest, at this moment. So, like they're right in the middle of it, and I'm sure when they sit down and analyse it, even though they say they've outlaid a few quid and brought some players in, they'll be happy enough with their position at the moment. And great game to look forward to on Friday night. I'm sure they'll be buzzing. I'm sure there'll be a big travelling crowd come down as well. So it should be a great occasion, and it's one that everyone is looking forward to.
Yeah, I think they'll recruit as well in the summer, James. Like I think that's the bit I think they'll recruit in the summer. I think they'll bring in reinforcements. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think the club and the people behind the club will look around and think, if we recruit here with the European games and the end of the season, they'll have an eye on some silverware, whether it's challenging for the league, which I think they should, and then I think they'll have an eye on trying to win one of the cups as well. And I think the club then will go, we've a chance here, and that's when they recruit. They'll go and bulk out the squad a little bit so that they are able to make sure that they're competing on a couple of different fronts.
Listen, nobody expected Derry to be a league champion this year.
I know that.
It's a bit like when Stephen went in at Rovers.
Yeah,
there's a building process that has to go.
Exactly. Yeah,
and they have to learn and they have to give.
Listen,
and that's
100%.
A proper league challenge to me would have been next year after. Anything this year has been an absolute bonus.
But the closer you go this season, the closer you push this season, it's better easier for next season, because then you get that experience of it. There's a lot of players in that Derry squad, especially like you said, the back four, the goalkeeper. I think only McElhenney has experience of winning the league. So and Duffy. So the other lads gained that challenge, that battle hardness of knowing how to see out games and how to make sure you get over the line in certain games you aren't playing well. So, like I said to you, but I think they will recruit in the summer.
We did that at Rovers. Remember, first season at Tala, we ended up finishing runners up. Probably felt like we should have won it, but like it would have been ahead of schedule if we did go on and win it. But then next season they clicked on and went and won back-to-back league titles then. So yeah, it is a building process. And back to the recruitment point, I think you'd have confidence in the recruitment as well, because they brought Brian Maher in, they brought Dummigan in, they brought Brandon Kavanagh in, who's got into the team and they've settled in well. So if you're looking at it, they're going, the lads they brought in have kind of hit the ground running and done a job. So if they're looking to bring a couple of more in, like you'd back and you'd have a bit of confidence in their recruitment.
Yeah, so that game between Shamrock Rovers and Derry City is live this Friday on RTÉ2 and the RTÉ player, so definitely well worth tuning in for, given the battle at the top. But in the first division, we're going to just chat about very briefly, Bray Wanderers lost 4-1 at home to Waterford, who are rallying now. Athlone Town lost 2-1 at home to Cork City, who are still flying high. Cove Ramblers lost 4-0 at home to Galway United, who are keeping chasing Cork at the moment. And then Longford Town got a 2-1 home win over Wexford. But I wanted to discuss Bray Wanderers, James, and there was a situation in their previous game against Wexford the previous Monday that resulted in a statement being released. So I'm just going to read out the first couple of paragraphs of that. Bray FC wishes to convey its disappointment at the behaviour of a small group of fans at our game in Wexford on Monday. The club wishes to communicate that it has identified the principal perpetrators and in conjunction with the Gardaí will implement steps to eliminate this behaviour. We are committed to delivering a safe and welcoming environment in which every Bray Wanderers supporter can enjoy the game and support the team. And then just additionally on top of that, they offered full support to Pat Devlin. So what have you made of the situation there? Because obviously the context of the wider situation at Bray was this merger with Cabinteely at the start of the season. But obviously things on the pitch haven't really worked out that well.
Yeah, they're third from bottom in the first division. The issue in Wexford is a hard one to talk about because the video that was released, it was only a small video, and I'm 100% sure it doesn't encapsulate everything that happened. There's no way that's like, we don't know what happened before that video. We don't know what happened after that video. The fact that they've released stuff to the Gardaí would suggest it's more than what was in the video. But to tell fans that you can't come to our ground if you're not going to get behind the team is a bit, I don't know. It happens around the world. If the manager's doing bad jobs, fans let them know. If players are doing bad jobs, fans let them know. That's all part of the game. But you can't overreact to what fans are saying to you at the same time. And I think that, the collaboration between Bray and Cabinteely probably didn't go down well with some fans. But again, as I'm talking about history with Shels and that, if it's going to push your club forward, then maybe it was the way it was handled initially that people weren't happy. Maybe there wasn't enough consultation about it and people feel it just happened overnight. But the statement was very, very bizarre statement. Like, they never mentioned the fact that, like, even they could have had a line in there from Devo just to say, listen, I was wrong. I shouldn't have approached the fans. Maybe something along them lines, and try and get something together that way to kind of mediate between the fans and the manager and the fans and the backroom staff, etc. But the statement come out was very, very bizarre. And it's only going to, if people wanted people out of the club, that statement was going to harden them even further, I think. I don't know, like, I'm sure the two lads playing through the years had a couple of bits of abuse gone from stands. I know I definitely abused Garto, so it's just one of those things, like.
Yeah, we'll see how that situation pans out now over the next few weeks. But James, before we go, I know you've been keeping an eye on the Danske Bank Irish League because, of course, Chris Shields, obviously formerly of Bray, coincidentally, and then Dundalk as well, was the winner of the Footballer of the Year for his performances with Linfield. So, class always tends to shine, as it seems.
Yeah, he had a good season for them, in fairness. I think the worst thing he did all season was he tried a slide on his stomach as he went out to collect the trophy. And that didn't seem to go all that well, do you know what I mean? But he's an old man now, he can't be doing stuff like that. But he had a great season for them. And the league finished off on Saturday with the cup final, and the cup final, Sunday with the cup final, Saturday with the cup final. The cup final was crazy, absolutely crazy. Ballymena versus Crusaders. Ballymena get an early goal in the game, control the game. Really no effort from Crusaders. Even the pundits at half time were asking where Crusaders had gone to. And then, of course, as happened in the Champions League just last week, you've got commentators saying how great Ballymena, it's great for them, and they're going to go and lift this trophy now. And then goalkeeper comes up, Tuffy comes up, heads the ball to the back post. They equalise in the injury time at the end of it, full time, goes to extra time. And I don't know, the lads might remember this. I remember Glass for Carlisle.
Yeah, the goalkeeper, yeah.
Jimmy Glass, yeah.
I don't think I've seen a goalkeeper get his head on a cross since then, and I always think it's very bizarre that they send goalkeepers up. But he gets his head on it, they go into extra time, and at the end of extra time, last kick of the game, McMurray scores an absolute cracking volley. And Crusaders, and you see per David Jeffries, is just devastating.
Alisson done it last year for Liverpool, remember?
Yeah, Alisson. He did it. He got a head on. But it's just one of those things you kind of look and go, this is crazy. And it's a bit like long throw-ins. It always baffles me that for situations like this, you don't practice. Like, you know what I mean? Like, even in training, going up for a corner and we'll see what we can do. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, long throw-ins never seem to be practiced. If you've got someone who is a long throw-in, it never seems to be treated as a set piece, and lads just kind of go in on top of the goalkeeper and stuff. But it was great to see it. It's great. It's one of those cup finals. I love cup finals. And when it goes back and forth like that, it's great. But poor David Jeffrey, he thought he was 30 seconds away from picking up a trophy, and just taken away from him like that. It was a really humdinger of a game.
Yeah, the magic of the different cups around the world, of course. So congratulations to Crusaders there. But this weekend, of course, in domestically here anyway, Dundalk playing Bohemians on Friday, and then Shamrock Rovers against Derry City, as we said, RT2 and the RT player, 7:45 kickoff. Shelbourne up against Drogheda, and then Finn Harps against UCD. And then on Saturday, it's Sligo Rovers against St. Pat's. And then in the first division, Wexford take on Galway, 7:45 on Friday, and then Waterford against Cove Ramblers, and then Treaty United against Bray Wanderers, and Athlone Town against Longford Town. Probably also have to note that's Friday the 13th, so I'm not sure which teams are going to be lucky here and which teams are not, if you believe in that sort of thing. And also there is a game on Monday with Treaty United up against Longford Town. And then in the Women's National League on Saturday, DLR Waves up against Sligo Rovers, Peamount against Athlone, Galway against Treaty United, Bowes against Shelbourne, and then Cork City against Wexford Youths. So that is pretty much it. Hopefully we'll be chatting to Jim Crawford, the Ireland under-21 head coach, very, very soon up at Abbottstown, possibly today. And I'll be looking ahead to the triple header of fixtures that are coming in June against Bosnia, Montenegro and Italy. But for today anyway, James, thanks a mil for coming on. And also Graham and Ollie, best of luck with the rest of the week, and cheers for coming on.
Thanks, lads.